Good morning and welcome. If you have any questions, please be sure to type them in at the bottom of your screen. My name is Michelle Elvey, and I'm one of the exercise therapists at Southlake's Cardiovascular Prevention and Rehab program. Today's topic is goal setting and self-management strategies. Our plan for today is to discuss how you decide to make a healthy change, to identify some common goals that many participants start with, to build an action plan, and to identify solutions for things that could get in your way in the goal that you're reaching. It's important to identify any decisional balances, both present state and future state, to set the stage for change. You may have recently been diagnosed with heart disease, diabetes, or stroke. This news may be overwhelming. Think about yourself a year from now. How do you see yourself? Describe your healthiest self. What are you doing? Who are you doing it with? How do you know that you are actually healthier? How do you feel? Being able to picture your healthier self in the future will help you to decide today whether making a healthy change is even worth it. A healthy change can be anything. It can be eating more vegetables, eating less salt, exercising more, sleeping better, smoking less, practicing mindfulness, losing weight. The list goes on and on. What are the benefits of what you're doing right now? And what are the costs of what you're doing right now? Versus in the future, think about what are the benefits of your future healthier lifestyle and what are the costs of that new approach. For example, if you're making a written list about making a change, you could, in the pros and cons of the present, take an action. For example, ordering takeout for dinner. What are the benefits of ordering takeout? Well, it's quick, it's easy, you can get lots of variety on demand, and you can pick it up on your way home or you can have it delivered to your house. And what are the cons of that habit? Well, likely it's more expensive and larger portions and usually not as healthy. So now take a new action, for example, meal prepping at home on weekends. What are the benefits? Well, it costs less money and you have more control over the salt, the sugar, the fat, and it's cheaper. What are the cons? Well, it does take more time and more planning to do. So that would be an example of looking at the pros and cons of both present and future. Once you've identified the healthy change that you want to make, ask yourself, how important is it to me that I make the change? Not my spouse, not my doctor, but to me. Rate your answer on a scale of 0 to 10. If it's important to you, very likely you'll be motivated to make that change. But if it's not important, chances are you likely won't follow through with your plan. So your conviction level should be at least a 7 out of 10 if you're going to be successful. Did you rank your conviction level 6 or less? If so, what would make it more important to you? Next, rate your confidence. For example, you might be well aware, very convinced that quitting smoking is very, very important to you, but because you've had some setbacks in the past, you might have a low confidence that you'd be able to actually stick with it this time. So it's important for you to feel confident about your change in order to be successful. If you're not confident, likely you won't be. On a scale of 1 to 10, rate your confidence that you will achieve your goal. If you gave yourself a 6 or less, then try shortening that goal, making that action a little smaller, making it a little easier. Think of ways that you could boost your confidence and increase your likelihood for success. Are you not sure what your goal should be? Well, if you have your workbook that you were given at the very start, you can look at page 14 and 15. These have to deal with healthy targets. Knowing what your current measurements are with respect to your weight, your body mass index, your alcohol intake, your blood pressure, your cholesterol lab results. These are going to help you to see where changes need to be made. You can set some goals for changes in these areas. Now, addressing them all at once will be overwhelming for sure. Instead, start with one and focus on that until you reach your goal. Then move to the next healthy target. You can ask yourself, what are my current measurements? What can be improved? What would I like to focus on first? What's my conviction and my confidence? And if they're low, can I improve them to increase my likelihood of success? Now we get to creating an action plan. Setting goals, large or small, is a very important self-management skill. Once you've decided on an area you need to focus on, it's helpful to think about what it is exactly that you will do to help you become more successful. Developing an action plan is the first step. An action plan consists of the following. 1, it's something you want to do. 2, is it achievable? 3, is it action specific? So try to avoid making very broad, generalized goals. Try to pin it down to a simple action that you can measure and track. 4, are you confident that you will be able to be successful in carrying out your action plan and achieve your goal? Again, your confidence rating should be more than 7. You can set up your action plan however you'd like. It's ideal to do it weekly so that you can reflect on your progress and build momentum to continue. So when thinking about an action plan, ask yourself these questions. What am I going to do? Am I going to walk more? Am I going to drink more water? Am I going to eat healthier? Am I going to maybe cut down on the number of cigarettes per day that I have? Maybe cut out one in the day. Am I going to improve my sleep? Next, ask yourself, how much will I do? It's usually to more quantitative numbers, so measuring what you will do. For example, I will walk around the block for 15 minutes. I will cut 2 cigarettes out of my day. I will practice 15 minutes of mindfulness. Next, determine when are you going to schedule in this habit? When am I going to do this? It's got to be specific. For example, at lunch or before coming home from work, before bed. Put a time to this action. Next, determine how often will I do this action or activity. 3-4 days a week? Every other day? It's nice to give yourself a little bit of wiggle room in case your plans change or something comes up. And then lastly, rate your confidence. How confident are you going to be? If you've given yourself a 7 or more, then you'll be successful. If less, then you might have to adjust this plan maybe 2 or 3 times a week, or maybe 10 minutes, something. Make it a little bit easier so that you can feel successful and build from there. Some red flags. If you hear yourself saying words like, I'll try to exercise daily this week, or I should go to bed at 10:30 every night. Those are red flags, okay? It usually means that you're not that confident that you'll be able to follow through with that action. And so ask yourself, what are my barriers? And modify your plans accordingly. Make sure not to set unrealistic expectations. The more reasonable you set your goal, the better and more likely you'll be able to achieve it. So barriers are things that get in the way of making a successful change. It could be something within our control, or it could be something outside of our control. So some barriers are a lack of time. Maybe you work more than you used to work before the pandemic started. Or for whatever reason, you just can't find the time to do the action. Another barrier could be social influence. Nobody around you is doing any exercise, for example, or maybe all of your friends like to go or like to order food in. Nobody likes to cook, that kind of thing. It could be a lack of energy. You're just tired. You don't have the same energy as you used to throughout the day, and that really puts a damper on your motivation. It could be a lack of motivation itself. Maybe exercising has just not been a part of your routine. You really excel at other things in your life, and exercise is just not something you've been interested in. Could be a fear of injury. It is very real that we have to be aware of hot weather, which is another barrier. We have to be aware of getting injured. If you have chronic pain, that could be definitely a stumbling block. Lack of resources. We're still a lot of areas are not open to do physical activity. A lot of gyms and fitness centers were still waiting on those to reopen again. And so some people feel that they don't have their regular gym to work out in. So all of these can be a barrier to increasing your physical activity, but it's important to know that there are solutions to each of these. So if you are struggling with motivation, lack of resources, lack of time, or whatever it may be, speak with your exercise therapist to help brainstorm ideas that can help you move beyond the barrier and get into action. So to review, with goal setting, the first thing is identify your goal. Make sure it's something that you want to change. Identify your level of commitment using a 0 to 10 scale. Identify your level of confidence, also using the 0 to 10 scale. And remember that your confidence and conviction should be higher than a 7 to be successful. Once you've done that, create an action plan. Remember to ask yourself, what am I going to do? How much? When? How often? And how confident am I? Identify any potential barriers even before starting, so that you can think of solutions to overcome them. Last but not least, measure your progress daily. If weight loss is your focus, it is recommended that you measure your weight once a week. So we've come to the end of our presentation today. If you have any questions, please let me know. Well, I thank everyone for attending this presentation on goal setting and self-management strategies. If you think of any questions, feel free to email us at cardiacrehab@southlakeregional.org. Thank you very much for tuning in.